My parents skipped my first solo art exhibition for my brother's office party. Hours later, a billionaire bought my sculpture for $890,000 in front of cameras. When my parents arrived in party clothes, security stopped them at the door. My name is Victoria, and I am 28 years old. I am a sculptor. For most of my life, my family has treated that fact like a character flaw I would eventually outgrow. My younger brother Derek is an accountant. He has a stable job, a 401k, benefits, and our parents' complete adoration. He is doing the right thing in life, they say, making smart choices, building a future. I am just the artist, the dreamer, the one wasting her potential on clay and metal. For years, they have made this clear. Every family dinner became a comparison. Derek's promotion, Derek's bonus, Derek's company events. Meanwhile, I worked in my studio 16 hours a day, building a body of work, developing my technique, slowly gaining recognition in the art world. They never asked about it. They never came to see my work. Not once. Derek's girlfriend Vanessa made it worse. She was a model, beautiful and cruel, and she loved having an audience when she mocked me. "Still playing with dirt, Victoria?" she would say at family gatherings, laughing. "When are you going to get a real job?" Derek would grin and add his own comments. "At least someone in this family understands financial responsibility." My parents would say nothing. Or worse, they would nod in agreement. 3 months ago, I received the news I had been working toward for a decade. A prestigious gallery was offering me a solo exhibition. My first. Every piece would be mine, my vision, my voice. I told my parents immediately, marked the date on their calendar, sent them formal invitations, reminded them multiple times as the date approached. 3 days before the opening, Derek's company scheduled their annual holiday party. Same night, same time. My mother called me on a Tuesday afternoon. "Victoria, we have decided to attend Derek's office party instead of your art show." I was mixing clay in my studio. I stopped, my hands frozen in the wet earth. "Mom, this is my first solo exhibition. I have been working toward this for years. And Derek has been working toward advancement at his company. This party is important for his networking. His boss will be there. And critics and collectors will be at mine. Victoria, art shows happen all the time. You will have other opportunities. This party could advance Derek's entire career." My father got on the line. "We are going to support your brother. He is doing something meaningful with his life. We hope you understand." I understood perfectly. I had understood for 28 years. "Fine," I said quietly. "Don't come." I hung up and sat in my studio for an hour, covered in clay, trying not to cry. Then I called Mrs. Sarah. Mrs. Sarah had been my high school art teacher. She was the first person who told me I had real talent, who pushed me to apply to art school, who believed I could make a living doing what I loved. When my parents refused to help with applications, Mrs. Sarah wrote my recommendation letters. When I needed supplies I couldn't afford, she bought them. She answered on the first ring. "Victoria, how are you, sweetheart? Are you excited about the exhibition? Mrs. Sarah, are you free Friday night? I know it is short notice, but my parents aren't coming, and I would really love to have you there." There was a pause. Then her voice, warm and fierce. "I will be there with bells on. And Victoria? Their loss. Their absolute loss." The night of the exhibition arrived cold and clear. I wore a black dress, simple and elegant, and arrived at the gallery 2 hours early. My sculptures were positioned throughout the space, lit perfectly, each one representing years of work and growth. The centerpiece was my largest work. 8 feet tall, bronze and steel, abstract but emotional. I called it Unfinished Conversations. It represented everything I had never been allowed to say to my family. Mrs. Korzak or Sarah arrived with an enormous bouquet of flowers and tears already in her eyes. "Victoria, this is incredible, all of it. I am so proud of you." The gallery filled quickly. Collectors, critics, other artists, people from the local arts community. The energy was electric. People stopped in front of my work, really seeing it, discussing technique and meaning and emotion. I noticed a quiet man in the corner, mid-50s, expensive but understated suit, examining my centerpiece with intense focus. He had been there for 20 minutes, just studying it from different angles. I didn't recognize him, assumed he was another collector. My parents' empty seats were painful. 2 chairs I had reserved for them in the front row, obviously vacant. But I pushed through, focusing on the people who had shown up. What I didn't know was that the quiet man studying my centerpiece was Daniel Brooks, billionaire tech CEO, and he was about to change everything. The evening progressed beautifully. Several pieces sold. Critics took notes. A journalist from the local arts magazine interviewed me about my process. Then, about an hour into the event, the gallery owner approached me, her face flushed with excitement. "Victoria, Mr. Brooks would like to make an announcement." "Who?" She gestured toward the quiet man by my centerpiece. "Daniel Brooks, the tech CEO." My stomach dropped. Daniel Brooks. Everyone knew that name. Billionaire entrepreneur, major art collector, one of the most influential people in the city. He was here, at my exhibition. Brooks stepped to the center of the room, and the conversations died immediately. Everyone turned to face him. "Good evening. My name is Daniel Brooks, and I wanted to make a public announcement tonight." His voice was calm, measured, powerful. "I have been collecting art for 20 years. I have pieces from masters, from contemporary legends, from rising stars. Tonight, I have witnessed something extraordinary." He gestured toward my centerpiece sculpture. "This piece, Unfinished Conversations, is one of the most emotionally resonant works I have seen in a decade. The technique is flawless. The vision is mature and powerful. I am purchasing it tonight for $890,000. The room erupted. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Brooks continued over the applause. "Furthermore, I am commissioning 3 additional pieces from Ms. Rivera for the lobby of my headquarters building. Total commission, $2.3 million. Mrs. Sarah's hand found mine. She was crying openly, squeezing my fingers so hard it hurt. I was shaking. The press swarmed. Cameras flashed. The journalist who had interviewed me earlier was frantically taking notes. Other gallery owners were pulling out business cards. Brooks walked over to me, extending his hand. "Congratulations, Victoria. This is just the beginning for you." I shook his hand, still in shock. "Thank you. I don't know what to say." "Say yes to the commission, and we will discuss the details next week." "Yes. Absolutely yes." The next hour was a blur. Interviews, photographs, collectors approaching with interest in my other pieces. The gallery owner was already talking about future shows, about representation, about building my career trajectory. My phone was vibrating constantly in my clutch. Notifications, social media tags, messages. The story was going viral. Unknown sculptor lands multi-million-dollar deal with Tech Billionaire. Victoria Rivera, the artist you need to know. Mrs. Sarah stayed by my side through all of it, beaming like a proud parent, occasionally dabbing her eyes with a tissue. I was doing an interview with a reporter when I heard the commotion at the entrance. My parents were pushing through the gallery doors, still dressed in cocktail attire from Derek's office party. My father's tie was loosened. My mother's hair was slightly disheveled. Derek was right behind them, phone already out, scanning the room. They saw the cameras, the crowd, the obvious buzz of something major. My father's eyes found me across the room. He started moving toward me. A smile plastered on his face, waving like we were old friends reuniting. Derek was already positioning himself near one of my sculptures, trying to get into the frame of a photographer's shot. My mother was speaking to someone nearby, probably asking what had happened, her expression calculating. Then I saw the security guard step forward at the entrance, checking the guest list on his tablet. I watched my father stop, confusion crossing his face. The guard was speaking to him, shaking his head. My father pointed toward me, his mouth moving emphatically. The security guard looked across the gallery, making eye contact with me, clearly asking a question. I saw my father mouth two words through the crowd: "We're family." The security guard began walking toward me, weaving through the guests. Daniel Brooks was still standing beside me, discussing logistics with the gallery owner. "Ms. Rivera," the guard said quietly when he reached me, "there are people at the entrance claiming to be your parents. They're not on the guest list. Should I let them in?" I looked past him. Through the crowd, through the glass doors, I could see them clearly. My father still gesturing. My mother's face shifting from hope to worry. Derek holding his phone up, trying to photograph my sculptures from outside. Vanessa beside him in an expensive dress, looking bored. I thought about art shows happen all the time, about every missed event, every dismissal, every comparison to Derek's meaningful career. Daniel Brooks had noticed the exchange. He looked toward the entrance, then back to me. "Are you okay?" The security guard waited for my answer. My phone was buzzing in my clutch. Probably them, calling me now. Now that cameras were here, now that there was money and prestige and attention. I looked at the guard and spoke clearly enough for Brooks to hear. "I don't know those people." The guard nodded and walked back toward the entrance. I watched through the crowd, through the glass as he delivered my message. My father's face collapsed, the confident smile, the entitled wave, all of it crumbled into something I had never seen before. Hurt, confusion, disbelief. My mother grabbed the guard's arm, speaking urgently. He shook his head and gestured toward the exit. Derek's face went from confused to angry in seconds. He was shouting something, probably about how ridiculous this was, how I was being dramatic. Vanessa had her phone out now, recording, probably thinking this was entertaining content. The guard was firm. Two more security personnel appeared. My family was being escorted away from the entrance, away from my exhibition, away from my moment. My father pressed his hands against the glass one final time, mouthing, "We're family," again, desperately. I turned back to Daniel Brooks. He was watching me with quiet understanding. "Are you okay?" he asked again. I thought about Mrs. Sarah crying with joy an hour ago, about every person in this room who had shown up for me, about the career I had built alone, the work I had created without their support, the success I had earned without their approval. "Never better," I said. The exhibition continued for another 2 hours. More sales, more connections, more interviews. Mrs. Sarah left with a promise to call tomorrow, still teary-eyed and proud. I went home that night exhausted and exhilarated, my phone full of congratulations from people who actually mattered. The next morning, headlines everywhere. Photos of me with Daniel Brooks, images of my sculptures, articles about the multi-million-dollar deal. My parents' attempted entrance wasn't mentioned. Press focused on the art and the sale. But 3 weeks later, different headlines appeared. Local accountant arrested for embezzlement. Derek's photo, disheveled in a courtroom. The article detailed years of theft from his own parents' accounts. Hundreds of thousands stolen to fund a lifestyle he couldn't afford. For a girlfriend who wasn't even his. Vanessa had left him the moment his money dried up. Just vanished. No goodbye, no explanation. Gone. The embezzlement charges were serious. My parents had to testify. In court documents, the full extent became clear. Derek had stolen over $200,000 from them over 4 years. They were in massive debt. Their retirement accounts emptied. Their savings gone. The stable career son, the one doing the right thing, had destroyed them. I learned about it through a text from a family friend. "Have you seen the news about Derek? Your parents are devastated." My parents didn't contact me. Too ashamed, probably. Too aware of what they had said, what they had chosen, what they had lost. Mrs. Sarah came to my studio 2 weeks after Derek's arrest. I was working on Brooks's commissioned pieces, my hands covered in clay. "Have you talked to them?" she asked gently. "No." "Victoria, they're still your family, despite everything. They told me art shows happen all the time, that Derek's party was more important. They showed up to my exhibition only after they saw dollar signs. I kept working, not looking at her. Why should I care that they're in trouble? Because you're better than they are. Because helping them doesn't mean forgiving them. It means you're strong enough to be kind even when they weren't. I worked in silence for a long time. Mrs. Sarah waited. How much do they owe? I finally asked. I heard 200,000. Plus, they have nothing left to restart. I thought about it for 3 days. About boundaries and grace. About being the person they never were. I paid off their debt anonymously. 200,000 transferred through my lawyer. Then added 75,000 more with a note. From someone who understands struggle. Use it wisely. They discovered it was from me when my lawyer confirmed the source. My mother left a voicemail crying so hard I could barely understand her. Victoria, we don't deserve this. We don't deserve you. I don't know what to say except we are so sorry. I forwarded the voicemail to Mrs. Sarah but didn't respond. 6 months after that night at the gallery, my second major exhibition opened. Brooks's 3 commissioned pieces were unveiled at his headquarters, massive sculptures that took over the entire lobby. Critics called them transformative. Mrs. Sarah sat front row at the new exhibition, proud as ever. My parents sent flowers with a card. We are so proud of you. Please, can we talk? I put the card aside and focused on my work. I will definitely talk to them, but not just yet. The new series was about chosen family versus blood family, about boundaries and healing. Critics were calling it my most powerful work yet. In an interview, a journalist asked, "Your family's financial troubles became public after your brother's arrest. You helped them anonymously. Do you ever regret it?" I thought about Mrs. Sarah's wisdom, about boundaries that protect without destroying, about being better without being weak. I don't regret helping them. I regret that they needed me to fail to see my worth. But I'm done waiting for their approval. I already have it. From myself, from my work, and from the people who showed up when it mattered. The journalist smiled. Your teacher, Mrs. Sarah, has been quoted saying you're like a daughter to her. She's more family than most people with my DNA. She taught me that family is built, not born. And that's the family that stays. Thanks for listening to the end. If you have ever been overlooked by people who only saw your value when you succeeded without them, remember this. Your worth isn't determined by who shows up. It's proven by who you become anyway. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about chosen family, artistic triumph, and boundaries that heal.